In this video, we're going to learn how to manually add a transition to a timeline using presets from Aim-Transition's Premiere Pro extension. Import only method overview. We understand that each user of our product can have their own and familiar way of working on a project. Therefore, especially for those who want to control every action when working with materials and the timeline, we added both to the extension and to the transition structure itself the ability to add transitions to the timeline manually. At the same time, this method in its capabilities has the same functionality to work with any resolution, any pixel aspect ratio, any frame rate, and any transition speed, as with the automatic method. That is, the difference is only in the fact that you yourself add the transition to the timeline. There are absolutely no more restrictions. It is quite easy to activate import mode. To do this, click on the advanced settings, which will open an additional menu with switches. All we need is to turn on the import only option. Now we can check how it works. First, let's set a time indicator at the joint point of the two clips. In manual mode, this is not necessary, but we recommend doing this because after importing a transition with the required speed configuration, our extension will move the indicator to the place where the transition start should be placed. Now let's go back to the extension and click on the transition icon with the direction we need. Great! The transition with the required configuration of the speed and parameters of the sequence is now in the project panel. At the same time, as we can see, the folder structure is expanded and the transition is highlighted. This is done according to the settings. Let's go to settings and change the logic to a different setting. As we can see, the option Highlight Imported Transition is checked in the settings. Let's turn it off and check how the import looks like in this case. But for the purity of the experiment, first delete the folder Aim-Transition's P-Pro. Please note that we're deleting this just to show the example more clearly. Now back to the Code Transitions pack and again click on the transition icon. As we can see in the settings script, the Aim-Transition's P-Pro folder is collapsed. Let's expand and check that the transition is indeed imported. Yes, everything is fine. Transition in the project. Oh, now is a good way to show that if the transition configuration is already in the project, then clicking on the icon of that direction of transition again will not import the transition again. Now let's check in action the second option in the settings for the manual method. Turn on the option Highlight Imported Transition via Search Bin. After importing or finding a transition in the project, the extension will create a temporary Smart Bin folder where the transition you selected will be placed. Let's see this in action. But also for the purity of the experiment, we will delete the Aim-Transition's P-Pro folder. Let's apply the transition and for a new example with a different speed. Yes, this speed is fine. As we can see, in the project panel automatically created Smart Bin folder named Aim-Transition Search. Let's open it up. Inside the folder is in transitions we need. So, using the settings of our extension, you can choose the most suitable behavior for yourself. How to manually add a transition to a timeline. Now let's finally look at an example of how to manually add a transition to the timeline. First of all, make sure that the option Insert and Override Sequences as Nests or Individual Clips is disabled on the timeline. This is indicated by the light color of the icon. Then make sure that the video tracks, the indication Source Patching for Insert and Overrides is turned on any of the tracks. If you want to add a transition with sound, then for the audio track, the indication Source patching for insert and overwrites must also be turned on any track. Since track targeting on tracks with the manual method of adding does not affect anything, this can be left as is. Okay, now everything is checked and prepared, including the position of the time indicator, which was set by the extension in the previous example. This will serve as an indicator of the position of the beginning of the transition. So, select transition in the project panel and then drag it to the timeline on tracks with a suitable free space for the transition. Done. Now let's check how the transition works. Super, the transition works fine. At the end of this tutorial, I will mention one point that you should keep in mind. When adding a transition to the timeline manually, it will not have grouping of clips. To do this, you need to select all the transition clips, mouse right click, and click Group. Everything is now ready. So this video tutorial for this section is over. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for all the latest updates on new products and offers.